I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to be honest with me. Were you a gate kid? Or maybe they called it something different at your school. Maybe it was the gifted class, maybe it was honors, or maybe it was APs in high school. One of the ways that you can spot a gate kid or a gifted kid in adulthood is they tend to be the people who can have just finished a massive project, be looking at their to-do list, checking off item after item, and it is never enough. Instead of feeling proud, these are the adults who feel blank, empty, exhausted after getting a ton of stuff done, but feel physically nauseous and uneasy when it comes to the idea of taking a break or just sitting back and appreciating what they accomplished. If you are a gifted kid, hyper independent, or praised for being mature for your age, your nervous system was trained over time to associate your worth with your output, with your productivity. And now maybe you're looking up and you feel like, I never have enough time or energy for all of the things that I need to get done. But I want to propose that maybe you don't have a time management problem. Maybe instead you have an identity that is entirely organized around external reinforcement, around accomplishing and doing, and that makes it impossible to prioritize, to tend to your nervous system, and your body might be finally staging a rebellion. Today we're going to explore why you feel this way, what creates these patterns, what burnout does to the body, and how you can start to internalize and somaticize your worth. Before we go any further, my name is Lauren Ludlow. I am a licensed therapist and I specialize in somatic therapy, aka mind-body work for individuals and couples who want to change long-standing patterns, reprocess and transform trauma, and build more connected and aligned lives. Now here's the thing. I know my former gifted kids, hyper-independent kids. You probably already know and have diagnosed yourself with gifted kid syndrome. You have read the articles, you have seen the videos, you looked up the stuff online, and you might even know how to name what is happening inside. You know you have a sense of self-worth that is deeply attached to productivity and doing. However, that's not translating into a shift. You know this, but still, your stomach tightens at 5 p.m. when it's time to decide whether or not to close your laptop, when it is finally time to sit and rest, or to make a choice between doing more or relaxing for a bit. Your brain feels fuzzy, your fingers feel tingly and not in a good way, and you don't know how to move through it. Your logical mind, your executive functioning mind, was called upon a lot during your development and your childhood. Those parts of your mind are very strong, very powerful, and you rely on them a lot. But those are not the parts of the mind that are showing up strongly in these moments. In these moments, it is your survival mind. It is your fundamental safety system that is saying, I'm not doing, I'm not safe. I'm not producing, I'm not of worth. And that is often what is creating these physical sensations and the physical tension that makes it feel impossible to shift this pattern. Perfectionism and constantly doing are almost a perfect defense mechanism. They're almost perfect because they are widely praised and affirmed. When you're growing up, your parents might love it, your teachers might love it. People think that you are a good influence and someone to be looked up to. Then when you get into adulthood, bosses love it, supervisors love it. Heck, even like friends and family love it because you're constantly able to do, analyze, and produce things that are helpful for them too. In addition, in our current society, not only is busyness praised, but busyness is always accessible. There is always more to do. We can work, we can have a side hustle, we can have a hobby that we treat like a job. So it is this defense mechanism that is always available. It never runs out. And as long as you're running, you don't have to necessarily pay attention to the underlying dread in the body or the question of who am I if I am not achieving. I say it's almost a perfect defense mechanism because gifted kids burn out. What happens is at some point, maybe you are learning, you're achieving, you're doing from a place of enjoyment, But when it becomes your identity and your sense of security, you can't stop when you stop enjoying it. So you keep going. And what drives you when you keep going? You're driven by cortisol, by adrenaline, and you can run on this for years. It's kind of what feels like almost compulsive, anxious state of high achievement. You may feel wired but tired. Nervous system is highly activated and you're exhausted. So we move from enjoyment, but when enjoyment runs up, we have to keep doing. We go into this kind of hyperactivation state that you can stay in for a really, really long time. But eventually the body says no more. Eventually it just cannot anymore. And so it has to pull out the emergency brakes. Because this isn't just about doing, it's about identity and it's about security. You're still working, you're still getting things done, but you feel numb, you feel disconnected, you feel dissociated. It's like you are moving through your own life on autopilot. And then when you do stop because you have to stop, it is like you are a robot that's lost all of its internal pieces. It can kind of feel like you have this hollow center, this emptiness within because the external validation is gone, the sense of security that comes along with it, that sense of self and identity that comes along with it, all gone. And this can look like a physical, like literal collapsing in posture. Sometimes when I'm working with clients who are in this sort of burnout, it's like I can see them sort of folding in on themselves, but it can also feel like a loss of sense of self, like you're physically empty on the inside, but also emotionally and spiritually and psychologically empty inside. Maybe let's run through a quick audit of if you experience any of these things. When you are working, maybe even now if you're taking a break in between work, do you notice that you have sort of that collapse, that hunchedness, that hollow sensation within the body? Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, do you find that you're super rigid, tensed up, very activated as you're getting through work every day, almost like you're armored? After checking your posture, check your breathing. Do you find that as you're doing and accomplishing things throughout the day, is your breathing very, very shallow, like you're just barely taking in air? Or opposite, do you find that you're gulping in air like you just cannot catch your breath? As you're working throughout the day, check for tension in the body. Do you have, what's very common, jaw tension, tight shoulders, or a lot of times a experience that people don't notice as being really associated with this kind of burnout is gastrointestinal distress. So it might feel like a clenched stomach or like butterflies in the stomach, or it might literally be signs of like poor digestion that you know are not connected with anything that's medically going on with you. We don't talk about enough how painful it is to be the labeled gifted, independent, or hyper responsible kid. There's a lot of freedom you lose as soon as you are given those labels. Freedom to make mistakes, freedom to do things just for the sake of pure enjoyment, freedom to have areas of struggle where things do not come easily to you. Those are all freedoms that start to get chipped away at as soon as you receive these sorts of labels. Many gifted or hyper independent kids don't get the space to demonstrate very normal childhood weaknesses and vulnerabilities. They don't get these soft spaces to land that they need when they are struggling, when they don't want to do certain things, when they don't want to achieve anymore, or when they're just having a hard time. Honestly, purely sometimes because of expectations, purely because they know it would be disappointing or on the extreme end unacceptable to the adults around them. This leads to a nervous system that adopts giftedness, doing, and productivity as more than just temporary ways of being or states of being. So let's explore some tools that can give you some more options, that can give you some space from this like deeply felt need to always be doing, always be producing, and help you to start to explore how you can develop a sense of self detached from that. Now, I could do a whole separate video about the social factors in GATE programs, how we've discovered how damaging they can be both for the children who get into them, but also for the children who are left out of them, how those sorts of labels don't encourage the growth mindset and the grit that it takes for children to continue to grow and learn throughout their lifetimes. We could do a whole deep dive into racial and socioeconomic disparities in those programs. But, saying all that to say, GATE programs, gifted programs, they've got some real flaws that have nothing to do with the children who have been impacted by them. I want you to approach all of these as experiments. I know that I'm talking to my hyper-independent hyperachievers right now, so these are not about perfection. These are about discovering some things that might work for your nervous system. So the first thing I want you to experiment with is like a kind of a version of progressive muscle relaxation. If you find that you are someone who, in this kind of burnout phase, you're in that slouch, where you're in that tension, I want you to allow yourself to, wherever you're feeling the hollowness or the tension, really either kind of fold in around that gently, or if it's shoulder tension, raise up the shoulders, or allow yourself to kind of go with the tension of whatever muscles are tensing up or slumping forward. And then once you experience that for a second, deepen it for a second, release it. And repeat that a couple times, maybe raising the shoulders and then releasing them down, hunching forward and then releasing it out. I want you to move in a way that feels good for your body. Don't do anything painful or that hurts, but we're just either doing that slouch, doing that shoulder raise, or if there's tension somewhere else in the body, allowing that tension to come up, then releasing and relaxing. Don't fight it. Name it. Okay, this is tension showing up in the body, right? This is a safety need showing up in my body. Go with it and then release it. And see if there's any neutral sensations or relaxation that comes up in the body. Next, we're going to do some external pressure or a hug with a little bit of a twist. So go ahead and you can do this kind of low around your stomach or high around your shoulders. Give yourself a nice hug or squeeze, applying some pressure. Again, you can do this low around the abdomen, whatever feels better for you. Give yourself some nice pressure, but as you do that, notice the feeling of your arms crossed around you and notice the boundary that creates. You are creating a physical boundary between yourself and the external world in this moment as you apply some gentle pressure, maybe up and down the arms, or again up and down the sides of the abdomen. Notice the feeling of this physical barrier of the crossed arms, right? And say to yourself, maybe in the quiet of your mind or out loud, I contain my worth. I contain my worth. And notice how that feels. Another practice is we can explore some resourcing around moments or relationships where you really experience that internal sense of being good or whole or enough. Maybe this has been a very rare experience in your life, but I want you to kind of flip through the encyclopedia of your mind, and I want you to see if there is any relationships. It can be a distant relationship, it can be one that's more recent, but are there any relationships where you have had experiences or moments of knowing that you are enough and you are whole without having to do or produce? If not, have there been moments of it? Has there been a moment where you were at a park and you were able to actually lean back in the grass for a second and just feel some relaxation? A moment when you were in a coffee shop sipping a delicious cup of tea and you were able to be present? If you have not had a moment or a relationship like that, I invite you to imagine a moment. Imagine what it would be like. Imagine where you would be, what you would be doing, and what it would feel like to sink into a sense of, I am enough and whole in this moment, even as I do and produce nothing. Imagine that. But if you do have a real experience of it in a relationship or by yourself, I want you to really think about that moment, right? Think about the moment, the setting, where you are, where you were, the sounds you could hear, the shapes and colors you could see around you. I want you to notice what was so wonderful about that moment, either with another person or by yourself. And then I want you to scan your body and notice any pleasant or neutral physical sensations that come up. If there are pleasant physical sensations, great. Let your attention rest on those. If there are no pleasant, if there's just neutral, neutral can be wonderful if you've been feeling very tense or really in a low zone. Notice those physical sensations and let your attention rest on them for a moment. And then lastly, I invite you to feel what it's like to sort of stack your spine and shoulders up if that's something physically doable for you. You can do it seated in your chair. You can go ahead and put your feet on the ground, and then starting from the base of your spine, imagine the pieces of the spine just stacking up one on the other like it's a nice strong like tree trunk, right? Strong and sturdy. Let your shoulders be relaxed. It can even be nice, if you don't want to do this in a chair, to go stand up, find a wall, stand with your back against the wall, and again stack up from the base of the spine upwards. Let your back and shoulder be pressed firmly but gently against the wall. And I want you to feel that physical sensation of being strong in yourself. And maybe also take this as an opportunity to extend some nurturing, loving, and compassionate words to yourself while you feel that physical sensation of sturdiness in your spine. These are all practices just to play around with. Do what works for you. Whatever doesn't work for you, don't do it again. But what I want to really emphasize is you probably have that top-down knowledge and understanding of what's going on here. Your nervous system needs some retraining. It needs some practice responding to similar situations in different ways. So when you're about to close your laptop and you get that clenched feeling in the stomach, do that self-hug practice. Let your nervous system experience some different physical sensations so the body can learn over time it is safe enough for me at this point to stop working. When you're looking at that to-do list and everything you've done and you just feel blank and you feel kind of nothing and you feel kind of nauseous, go back to that resource of a moment when you were able to experience that sense of worthiness. Reflect on it deeply. Notice what goes on in the body. Give your nervous system that little break, an opportunity to reset. Reclaiming your identity outside of doing is a slow somatic process of tolerance. You have to build a capacity to tolerate stillness without perceiving it as a threat in the body. And having these little resourcing practices can help you build that tolerance by giving you enough relief to shut the laptop half an hour earlier, enough relief to ease into a time of relaxation, enough relief to open your mind to new thoughts. Maybe you have a new belief that you're wanting to reach for. Maybe you're aware that, oh, this is the gifted kid inside coming up, but taking a moment to engage with one of these somatic practices might open up some room for it to feel true. So the next time you're tempted at 9 p.m. to get back into some work and some doing, I want you to try one of these containment practices and let your body have the chance to maybe experience a little something different and see if that opens up some space. And if you have experience with being in this place of being the gifted one, the mature one, the independent one, and you've started to make some shifts and some changes out of that identity and into new ones, share in the comments below what has been working for you, what's been serving you, or if there's any of these practices you want to try. Thank you for checking out this video. Make sure to like or subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and I hope to see you in the next one.